Hey, Psychthougths fans, good to see you back today. Today we're going to kind of delve more back into history, and we're going to talk a little bit about a science that we kind of make fun of, we don't think much about, but it did have a huge impact upon the United States and an impact on psychology. So why don't you come along with me today as we unlock the secrets of phrenology, the study of the shape of your head. Ooh, I don't like the way those bumps look. So let's go. Phrenology is a unique ideal of science in which we study the shape and the bumps on your head. Now, to give you a good idea of where all this came from, let us first talk about a little bit of background history. About the turn of the 19th century, an Austrian doctor by the name of Franz Gall basically had this ideal from when he was in school. He noticed that a lot of the kids who were really good at rote memory, that could remember things, had protruding eyes and a large forehead. And this stayed with him for over his years, and so he started thinking that since we can't tell what areas of the brain do what, because people don't let you cut open their head, it's safe to assume, you know about assuming, that the shape of your skull and different areas that protruded would give us an insight into personal characteristics, and which in these characteristics were things like attentiveness, shyness, all of these things. And so he basically started measuring skulls of friends, family members, all these different people. He even went to jails, did criminals and different things. He said that there was a location on the brain that dealt with murderness and thievery. And as you can guess, he did all these things. Now, most of the time he stayed very locally, not really known very well, but then something wonderful happened. He got accused of heresy. Oh yeah, the church got involved and said, hey, no, that's wrong. Soon as they brought him up on charge of heresy and what he was doing was wrong, it was like wildfire. It spread super fast through Europe. It's kind of like today, if someone tells you, don't read that, don't look at that, you go, I'm going to. Well, everybody was intrigued. They wanted to know more. And so they started following around in his lectures where he's talking about the shape of your skull. Now, cool thing about him is Gall had started this whole trend in Europe. And as he went along, he had an assistant that worked with him also. His assistant basically took it to another level and really basically helped bring phrenology to the United States. Okay? But so here we go. In the early 19th century, Gall's ideal spread through Europe. And he was doing really good. He was talking about how we can use these ways to harness our powers, see who we are, what's our special features and different things, and also help us to basically reduce or show up external factors that we might not have known about or abilities. Now, as I said earlier, he had a friend that worked with him. His name was Johann Spezheimer. Spezheimer was also his colleague. Now, Spezheimer really took it to the next level. He's actually the one that named it phrenology, okay? From the Greek meaning mind and study of. So phrenology is the study of the mind, or via the skull, so to speak. Spezheimer basically really got into it and was really well known, and he came to the United States on a whirlwind lecture tour. Oh, we don't have many of those anymore, and I mean, this was big news. So when he landed here in the United States on his whirlwind tour in 1832, everybody was excited to hear all this stuff about phrenology and the shape of your head. He had a lot of people that came out, people from Yale, Harvard. Also, Emerson Waldo was one of the big minds at the time, was intrigued by his ideals, all these things. Great tour. And it was an exhausting tour. Exhausting enough that he died 3 months into the tour. When he died, it was like a big, huge deal. I mean, his death was heralded as the death of a prophet of knowledge. And now that we had to pick up the Journal of British Medicine said now we had to pick up the mantle of knowledge, so to speak. Now, at the same time, when he was in the United States speaking on phrenology, he inspired two brothers known as the Fowlers, okay? And the Fowler brothers were basically kind of, they flunked out of school to be pastors. Excuse me. And so they failed in pastor school. But they really embraced these ideals of phrenology, and so they started telling people what was wrong with them, different things on the shape of their head. Now, this was very big in the U.S., very big. It spread quickly and everything else. As you know, we always like to go phrenology, the science, because it's not really a good, accurate science. I mean, we're thinking about the shape of your head and protrusions on it, and that tells me a little bit about yourself. By the 1840s, we started to see a little bit of a backlash in the ideal of this study. And so people started really going, that's not true, that's false, we can prove it this way. And it forced people to start doing more research and started to show it that it was a kind of pseudoscience, so to speak. And so even though that we now look at it and we look back at it and we think it's comical and we see these busts all the time in stores and different things that you can get of the phrenology head and all the different areas and stuff that, hey, constituous, I got that. We know that's not really true. But it had a huge impact on psychology and also on how we do research in trying to debunk things that are not true. Today, one of the best quotes when we think about phrenology was a quote that basically said, phrenology was born out of wedlock to psychology, but we basically took it to another level when we looked at research. And so we use research now to show that this was not true, and it helped form our ideals about how the mind and the brain works. And it's not the container, but it's what's on the inside that matters. So now you know more than you ever wanted to know about phrenology. I don't know why, that's never going to be a category on Jeopardy, but if it is, you know who the father of phrenology is now, and you'll win $1,000. But other than that, that's kind of where we get. And even though we was easily swayed by pseudoscience at one time, we stayed calm, did research, and found out that it's not true. So I guess that means if you have a strange head, large forehead like me, well, it does mean I'm genius, but that's another story. Other than that, we find now that we understand more how the mind works, and we understand the inner workings is the most important thing. As always, when you look at anything, psychology is everywhere. As always, if you like these videos, subscribe, hit that notification button. You don't want to miss any of our upcoming videos and all the things that we have to say about psychology and related areas. And as well, as always, I'll see you the next time. Bye.